Hey everyone, I hope you're having a good start to your week. As you might be able to tell, it is a very, very hot day here in London today. I'm not actually in the office. Again, as you can probably tell, I'm house sitting for a friend for the next few weeks or so, and so I'm recording this from their kitchen, which is considerably nicer and cooler than the office. So anyway, I thought I'd just have a bit of a chat about the state of the market at the moment and just chat briefly about a few stories that have caught my eye today. Now, if you want a full rundown of what's been going on over the last week, then I have just put out my weekly news update over on our main channel. But I thought I'd do a little bite-sized chunk for you this afternoon as well. Okay. So I think the big news that is kind of lifting the markets at the moment, obviously there's a lot of green around still. That rally that we saw starting over the weekend has continued into this week, and that is largely being driven by the good news coming from Ethereum. And in case you missed it, basically it looks like the Ethereum's merge could be set to take place as soon as September. And in fact, the 19th of September is the date that's been put out by a few Ethereum devs. Now, obviously, this is great news for Ethereum. It's great news for loads of ERC20 tokens as well, obviously. It's also good news for tokens like Matic as well. Obviously, Matic is Ethereum's leading layer 2 scaling solution. Matic has also coincidentally had some good news of its own. It's mostly pumping on the news that it's partnered with Disney for this accelerator program. So obviously, yeah, some certainty around the merge, some hope at least that the merge could actually happen sometime fairly soon is obviously driving Ethereum-based tokens, and I think it's carrying a lot of the market along with it in general, including, weirdly, Ethereum killers, the likes of Solana, Avalanche and Cardano, because, well, basically investors are hedging in case something goes catastrophically wrong with the merge, which I think is pretty unlikely, but you can't rule anything out these days, can you? This is crypto after all. So that is some very good news that seems to be carrying the market along with it. There's also a number of other stories that I spotted as well. Now, you'll recall that when the CPI numbers, when those inflation numbers came out last week in the United States, they showed that inflation was running at 9.1%, even higher than what investors were expecting. Now, that obviously caused that midweek dump that we saw last week, but it seems as though, now obviously the reason for this dump was that because inflation was so high, even higher than expected, the expectation was that the Fed would then be forced to raise rates by a full 1%, 100 basis points when it meets towards the end of this month. However, we have had news come through that a number of Fed officials have signaled that they may well stick to a 75 basis point rise, just 0.75%, which may not seem like much, but it is certainly a bit of good news for the markets to clutch at. So there's that as well. A couple of other stories also caught my eye. One relevant to XRP holders. Apparently, Jed McCaleb has finally finished selling all his XRP. Now, for those of you unfamiliar, Jed McCaleb was one of the original founders of Ripple. He left a few years ago to co-found Stellar, which is obviously a rival platform to Ripple. And a big bone of contention since then has been Jed's allocation of XRP. He was allocated around 9 billion coins, which is over 18.5% of XRP's total supply. And he's basically been selling it off. He's been kind of under an agreement with Ripple not to dump it all at one point, but has basically been selling it off over the last few years. And apparently he has finally finished doing that. Now, XRP has pumped along with the rest of the market, not massively because we are still in a bear market, like it or not, but this is certainly good news for XRP in the long term, and also, of course, coupled with the good news that XRP had last week when it scored a big victory in its case against the SEC. That case is still ongoing. It's not going to be resolved anytime soon, but this is two really good bits of good news for both Ripple and XRP holders. And then the final story I wanted to briefly mention as well was a report in The Hill from yesterday, which said that petrol prices in the US, or gas prices, as you Americans love to say, could soon drop below $4. Now, obviously, Americans love drinking petrol more than anything in the world. So lower gas prices are definitely good news for them and for the US economy. And the reason that these prices could be dipping below $4 is basically President Biden has been releasing US oil reserves in order to try and suppress prices, and has also been photographed fist bumping the Saudis as well to try and get them to up production of oil to basically make up for the shortfall caused by the war in Ukraine. So folks, those are a few reasons why the market is pumping today, and just a few kind of interesting stories that I thought it might be fun to talk about. Now, I should point out we are still in a bear market, and this means that most pumps that we're seeing aren't really going to register on any cryptocurrency's long-term price chart, so do be aware of that. However, there are encouraging signs that this rally could last for a few months yet, because when the Fed meets towards the end of this month on the 27th of July and announces that rate rise, which could now be lower than it was predicted to be last week, the Fed officials then all go on holiday until September. So basically, the crypto market, all of us, have a break from the Fed for 2 months. Now, that to me is certainly good news. Right, as you can probably tell, it's getting a little warm in here. I'm going to go off and enjoy the sun. So please tune in tomorrow. I will keep you updated.